Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 14. And before we get started, let me just say that it seems like Sanya's trip seems to be getting worse and worse. You have people going to the hospital, everybody's fighting. But when I tell you that this trip just feels so chaotic, this episode, while it was good, it felt very all over the place. Like there were 11 things happening at the same time. And there were times where I felt like I couldn't keep up. But with all that being said, let's just jump right on into this recap because like I always say, we don't have a minute to spare. So we start this episode off with the crew still in Jamaica. It's only day 2 of the trip, mind you. And we see a short scene with Sanya in the lobby and she's waiting for everybody else to join her. We see Sheree show up first and they're talking. Sanya's super excited because she has a very busy day planned for the group. So now we cut to a scene with Kandi getting ready and she's discussing the whole argument that she had with Marlo. So Kandi is really annoyed, rightfully so, because anybody would be. Marlo's a very aggravating person. And Todd's like, don't let her get to you. She's just trying to push your buttons. And she's very insecure about a lot of stuff. Marlo is a very miserable woman. I agree 100% with Todd. Marlo's deeply insecure. Nobody who's secure in themselves acts the way that she does. Marlo really needs to get some help. I don't say that to be malicious. I really do mean that when I say that. She needs some help. Some intensive therapy would help her. It would do wonders if she would sit on somebody's couch for 90 minutes, 5 days a week. That would do her some good. And when Kandi said in her confessional that her and Marlo have gotten into big arguments in the past, and we saw the flashbacks of Marlo pretty much calling her a big mama, saying that she takes care of men. I mean, honestly, if I were Kandi, I wouldn't have forgiven Marlo for that. Like, Marlo would have been lucky to get a second chance from me. Because like I've told you guys, if there's a grudge, I'ma hold it. If I had to name my biggest flaw, it's definitely that I'm not forgiving. If you slight me, if you try me in any way, there is no forgiveness. I'm not proud of it. I would love to change that, but yeah. Me and Marlo would not have been talking over that incident 10 years ago. Now we cut back to Sanya in the lobby with Sheree. Mayetta and her husband show up. And I have to say, Manietta's husband is so funny to me. Like, all he does is just laugh and have a good time. But he doesn't talk. Like, he's maybe said about 2 words on this whole entire trip. So they're there and Sanya's like, okay, it's 8 a.m. Everybody else needs to be here because remember, they're heading to Kingston and Kingston is 2 hours away from Montego Bay. So Sanya says that she's excited to show them Kingston because that's where she's from. And they're also going to go to the stadium to watch the race between Marlo and Drew. And that's the first stadium that she ever raced at too. So Sanya says that they're waiting on Marlo, Kenya, Kandi, and Drew. And how Ross is already in Kingston because he's filming for the iFit commercial already. So as they're waiting, we now see Marlo in glam. And she's talking about she doesn't even want to go to Kingston today after what happened last night. And it's like, but Marlo, what happened last night is because of you. You're the one who got nasty. You're the one who disrespected Kandi and Todd. I just really can't stand how Marlo always wants to be the victim and the villain at the same time. That's not how this works. You can't say crazy stuff to people and then want to say, oh, you know, like, I just can't believe that happened. Like, what was that last night? And it's like, Marlo, this is all you're doing. Marlo's behavior is so reckless and she takes no accountability ever. It's just so aggravating. And then we see her telling her new friend that he doesn't have to come to Kingston today. You know, he can just hang out at the hotel and she'll send him up a bottle of Henny. And it's like, I mean, if the other plus ones are going to be there, then why can't your plus one come to Kingston? And can we quickly discuss how Marlo does not have real friends? Because like a lot of you guys pointed out in last week's recap, the fact that her plus one is a florist, that says a whole lot. And I have always suspected that Marlo does not have friends. The only friends that she does have are people who work for her in some capacity. Her assistants, her glam team, those are her friends. But anyhow, we flip back to everybody at the lobby and we see Drew and Ralph arrive. They're 5 minutes late. And it was so funny because Sanya had a gift for Drew since Drew's going to be racing Marlo. So she's like, here, Drew, I got you this official Olympic outfit to wear while you run later on today. And Drew's like, yeah, you know, I was a former track star in high school, and our high school mascot was actually an Olympian. And then we see Drew shading Sanya in her confessional, and she's like, Sanya loves passing out her Olympic gold medals and all her memorabilia. She's always talking about her accomplishments, and it's like, girl, we get it. You won races. And I was like, Drew, not too much now, because while Sanya is annoying, Drew, you also talk about your accomplishments as well. You talk about the movies that you were in back in the day. Like, Marlo talks about her fashions and her old billionaire boyfriends from 2 decades ago. Sheree is sitting up here still talking about her defunct clothing line that has yet to get off the ground. So if they can all talk about their stuff, then surely Sanya can talk about her accomplishments too. I'm just saying, fair is fair. So now it's around 8:20 a.m. and we see Kandi and Todd finally get on the bus and Marlo shows up. So of course, when Marlo gets on the bus, she has to make a big scene. She's talking about how Drew was her therapist last night and really helped her. We see a clip of them talking. They had some deep conversation. And it's like, Marlo, girl, shut up. And Marlo also knew what she was doing by giving that grand apology to Ralph in front of everybody. It's like, clearly you know that Kandi and Todd also deserve an apology from you as well, because the way you sat up there and disrespected the both of them at that dinner table was disgusting. And then it was so funny because we see in Kandi's confessional, one of the producers asking her if she felt like she was owed an apology too. So Kandi's like, look, I don't care who Marlo apologizes to, okay? I don't want to talk to her, hear from her, see her. Like, I want her to stay away from me. Honestly, I don't want to be on this bus with her. And I feel the same way that Kandi does, because when you go out of your way to attack me, disrespect me, harm me in any capacity, there is no apology that can wipe the slate clean. We are done. Now, mind you, while they're on the bus, they still haven't taken off because they're waiting for Kenya. So it's around 8:30 at this time, and Sanya's like, has anybody heard from Kenya? And Kandi's like, I don't think Kenya's coming today because she was upset at how nobody checked on her yesterday, and she felt rushed this morning. And then Sheree says, well, maybe she was spending time with her new man last night because he's leaving today. So now we see Sanya calling Kenya. Kenya picks up. Kenya's still in her room, getting ready or taking her time to get ready. And Sanya's like, hey girl, it's 8:30, we have to go. Kingston is 2 hours away, like, we need to be on time. So Kandi says, okay, give me a few minutes, I'm gonna try and hurry up. The minute she hangs up that phone, she goes outside on her balcony and she's taking pictures of the beach. Now, Kenya, I like you and all, Team Twirl, don't get in these comments acting up. You guys know how I am, whether I like a housewife or not, I always have to be fair. For me, I pride myself on being on time, on being punctual, and that is a pet peeve of mine when people are late. And I thought it was rude of Kenya to be out there taking pictures and sort of taking her time. If you don't want to go, then just say that. But to sit up there and holding everybody else up, that's not fair. So now it's 8:40, and Sanya's like, we can't wait, we really have to go. Like, we're already behind schedule. So she texts Kenya and she's like, hey Kenya, can you come down in the next minute or so because, we can't wait any longer. Kenya texts her back, it's okay, do what you have to do, like, I'll see y'all later. Now, like I said a few minutes ago, if Kenya didn't want to go, then she should have just said that, because it would have helped them out tremendously had Kenya texted around 8:15 or 8:20 like, hey, I'm running behind schedule, I'll meet you guys there, see you later. Because Kandi, Todd, and Marlo all got on the bus at 8:20, so they could have been off on the road 20 minutes ago. So they finally arrive in Kingston. Sanya is super excited. She says that she was born in Kingston, she went to school in Kingston, and she lived there until she was 12 years old. And I thought it was so touching because when they all got off the bus to see Sanya's childhood home, she was just so excited. And one of the neighbors was outside. She was like, "Hey, Sanya, good to see you." And it was so cute because her Aunt Sharon came out and she was just so happy to see Sanya. Sanya was happy to see her. And one thing about it, you can just tell that when Sanya's in Jamaica, she is back home. Like her whole face lights up. She is just in her element. So the neighborhood tour is over. They say goodbye to Aunt Sharon. And now they get back on the bus and they are on their way to Devon House. Now, this was so funny because a few days ago, I had seen a video about Devon House on TikTok. So when Sanya said they were going there, I was like, oh my gosh, that's just so funny. So Devon House is Jamaica's most premier, elegant, 5-star ice cream shop on the whole entire island. We learned that it's a gated ice cream shop. People have weddings there. Her own parents got married there. And this ice cream shop was bought by one of Jamaica's wealthiest black men. Now, I'm not somebody who has a major sweet tooth, but when I do get in the mood for ice cream, I always love rum raisin. Rum raisin is that girl, okay? Rum raisin hive. Let me know down in the comments. I love banana ice cream. Don't laugh at me, but there's something about a good banana ice cream, just chef's kiss. I also love a good cake batter flavored ice cream. Yeah, those are like my 3 go-tos. I also like cotton candy, but if I have to pick a favorite, it's a tie between rum raisin and banana, and I always get like an order of hot fudge on top of it with gummy bears. I don't know why. It sounds like a crazy combination, but it is amazing. Like, try it and let me know. It's just so good. You cannot go wrong with some hot fudge and some gummy bears. Oh, and you know what ice cream I love? It's called the Banana Caramel Crunch at Cold Stone. Stop it. And then I'll add yellow cake inside of it too. Oh my gosh. Please order it. Let me know. To die for.
I love it. I love it.
And you know who has some of the best rum raisin ice cream? A place called Big Olaf's in the Hamptons in Sag Harbor. Phenomenal. The line is always out the door. And get it in a waffle cone. Chef's kiss. You just can't go wrong. But let me stop it because we'll be here all day just talking about ice cream. So everybody's ordering their ice cream, and like I said, that ice cream looked amazing. My mouth was watering as usual. And now we see Sheree and Marlo go off to the side to talk, and Sheree brings up the dinner. So she's like, I understand your passion, but it comes off as very aggressive sometimes, and last night's dinner went left. So Marlo agrees, but says that Kandi should stay out of her business. And it's like, but Marlo, you can't say stay out of your business when you brought this business to the group. You told everybody and their mother about how you kicked your nephews out. You pulled Kandi to the side at Sheree's house when she had that slumber party a few episodes ago, and you were crying and talking about how you need Kandi's support and her help. So now for you to say, well, stay out of my business, it doesn't work that way. You brought your business to the forefront, so now they all have a right to speak on it. Marlo really talks out of 2 sides of her face. I can't stand it. I don't think she's aware of how silly she sounds half the time. It's like, what aren't you getting, Marlo? If you didn't want this to be talked about, you should have never brought this up to the group. And the way you're always in everybody else's business, if that's the case, you shouldn't have gotten on Ralph about the whole adoption thing. That's him and Drew's business. It's also really aggravating how Sheree doesn't have the heart to stand up to Marlo and tell her when she's wrong. But then again, Sheree and Marlo are 2 sides of the same coin, so it doesn't surprise me that Sheree wouldn't check Marlo. So while Marlo and Sheree are off to the side talking, we now see Monyetta and Kandi talking. So Monyetta's asking her how she feels about last night's dinner, and Kandi says, I was pissed. Because 1, you're sitting here trying to question Ralph when you're doing the same thing yourself. And then she adds on that she's just tired of Marlo being a hypocrite. And I was thinking, sis, we're all tired of it. Then Kandi adds that what really pissed her off was when Marlo tried to disrespect Todd. And again, anybody would be pissed to see somebody disrespect your spouse like that. What Marlo said about Todd in front of his face was uncalled for. It was evil. It was unnecessary. And the audacity of you to come for Todd and Kandi when they've been very helpful to you over the years. So now we see Kenya arrive and she is 2 hours late. She orders some ice cream. And while Sanya's happy to see her, she is a bit annoyed. So she pulls Kenya to the side and she's like, hey Kenya, glad you can make it, but I am a bit disappointed in you because it's like, if you're my friend, why can't you just show up for me? Why are you 2 hours late? And like I said, fair is fair. Even though I don't like Sanya, I'm on her side with this one. I would feel offended too. Because if I can be on time for your events, you should be able to be on time for my events. And the fact that Sanya had gotten a bus, she has all these activities planned, and Kingston is 2 hours away, every minute counts. And for them to be, set back 40 minutes, that's not right. So now Kenya says that she has been on time for everything else, and now we see the footage, and at last night's dinner, she showed up 1 hour late with her date. So now Kenya brings up a conversation that she had with Brooklyn and how Brooklyn doesn't want to talk to Mark anymore. I think Mark doesn't want to come to Atlanta anymore. And she's just worried about their relationship. And so Kenya starts crying and she's like, this divorce thing is just so crazy. It affects my mood. It's just awful because I want my daughter to have a relationship with her dad. So we see Sanya in her confessional and she's like, every time I bring up how I'm feeling to Kenya, she's always deflecting and using her divorce as an excuse. And it's like, just own up and say that you're wrong. And here's my thing on this, right? I don't doubt for a second that Kenya's divorce is affecting her. I'm sure she's going through hell, okay? But I do think that she should have apologized. She should have said, you know what, Sanya, you're right. I'm sorry for being late. I'm sorry for holding you guys up earlier this morning. Like, a simple apology goes a long way. And again, I have to be fair because it's not fair when you feel like somebody else can address their gripes with you, but you can't bring up how you feel when they hurt your feelings. That's not fair. And Sanya had valid reason to be upset. And if Kenya was upset, if she was emotional earlier that morning, all she had to do was just tell Sanya, hey, Sanya, I'm not feeling up to it. Had a hard conversation with Brooklyn earlier. So, I'll just meet you later on in the day, but you guys go off without me. She should have said that earlier on so that they weren't waiting for her. Just my opinion. So now they finish their ice cream and get back on the bus to head to the stadium. And when they get back on the bus, you have Marlo reading a blog and she's like, Kandi, you saw that blog post? Kandi, the blogs are saying that Simon just bought Portia a Rolls Royce. So Kandi looks up and she's like, huh? Like, are you talking to me? Like, please don't talk to me. Don't speak to me. Like, leave me alone. So Marlo has the nerve to say, you're so mad at that? Like, you're just so sensitive, really? Like, you're just so petty. Grow up. And even Kandi was like, I'm petty. Like, are you kidding me right now? And it's like, Marlo, I don't understand what goes through your pea brain, because on what planet do you think that you can talk to somebody like crap, disrespect them and their husband, and then be upset that they don't want to talk to you? If you disrespect me, I am not speaking to you ever again. It's as simple as that. It's like walking up and slapping somebody and then being upset when they punch you. And you're sitting up there talking about, well, I only slapped you. You didn't have to punch me. And it's like, are you insane? The point is, you shouldn't have slapped me in the first place. And that's what Marlo doesn't understand in the first place. Because if you would leave people alone, you wouldn't have to deal with the fallout. Had you not gone below the belt saying that Kandi's a bad mother, that Todd's broken, a bum, that she takes care of men and her whole entire family, like, had you not said that, you wouldn't have to worry about Kandi being upset with you. Kandi has every right to not speak to you ever again. I get really annoyed because I know quite a few Marlos where they'll do some really evil stuff to you, and then they're mad at the fact that you want nothing to do with them. And it's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you know you need some help, right? I think what Marlo's true issue is that she's not a girl's girl. She actually hates other women. She's jealous of other women. She's insecure around other women. And because of that, that's why her hatred seeps out, and she's always saying some real out-of-pocket stuff. So Marlo's talking about, I'll talk to you if I want to talk to you. And Kandi's like, girl, shut the F up. You're not talking to me ever. So now Marlo gives out this half-assed apology, and she's like, I'm sorry, Kandi, okay? Like, are you happy now? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And it's like, again, Marlo, it's too late. Nobody wants that dry-ass apology, so just keep it. And you were better off just sitting there and shutting up. So they finally arrive to the stadium, and Sanya is just so overjoyed at the fact that they're all there. She says that it means the world to her, and then we learn that she used to run the 400 in only 48 seconds. So they're all impressed hearing this, and then we learn that Sanya holds the record for the fastest American to ever run a 400. So now they all want to see Sanya run, and we see Sheree timing her, and she runs 36 meters in 6 seconds. I was like, Sanya might not be the best party planner, but she can still kill it on the track, because that was just super impressive to watch. I mean, to do that in 6 seconds, that's just amazing. So now it's time for the big race between Drew and Marlo, and I was screaming because they all placed bets on who was gonna win, and Kandi was like, well, I think that all the lipo undergarments that Marlo wears is probably going to weigh her down, so I'm going to go with Drew. And Kandi had me screaming because she was like, I'm definitely not betting on Marlo. It could be the whore race, and I still wouldn't bet on her, even though she'd win.
You know what? This is too much.
Oh, before I forget, what the F was Marlo wearing to race in? So they start the race, and Marlo actually wins. I mean, it looked like a tie to me, if I'm being honest, but Marlo won the race. Sheree's happy because she placed her bet on Marlo, so she's like, where's my money? Now, mind you, the way commercials had me thinking that Drew was gonna fall down and bust her ass while they were racing, and then come to find out that Drew was just fine until after the race was over, because all of a sudden Drew starts running around being silly, and she goes down, and she's screaming and hollering in pain because she thinks that she's ruptured her Achilles. And now we have the Minister of Sports coming over, and so Sanya's flustered, and it was so funny because when the minister got there, Marlo was like, oh my gosh, let me change out of this little bronze panty set because, you know, I'm sitting up here like naked and you have the minister here. I was thinking, Marlo, you shouldn't have worn that to race in the first place, but okay. I thought it was very sweet when the minister walked over to Drew. She was like, how are you feeling? I'm going to send you to the best hospital with the best doctors in Jamaica. Like, don't worry. I will make sure that you're taken care of. And of course, we see Drew and Ralph leave and they head off to the hospital. But it's just so crazy to me that all because Drew decided to be silly for like 5 seconds, that now she has to go to the hospital. Like a mess. So now we see everybody back on the bus, heading back to the resort, and Sanya's giving them the itinerary for tomorrow. So Sanya says, tomorrow is my first iFit day, and she says, Kenya and Sheree, I know that you're interested in fitness and meeting the iFit people, so you're more than welcome to come or not come. It's an open invitation. Feel free to join, and we'll be leaving at 9:30 in the morning. And then Sanya says, for everybody else, I've planned for a catamaran at 12 p.m. So now it's the next day, and we see Marlo and her florist, Adrian, are on the iFit bus. So Marlo says, look, I don't know what's going on. I just know that I was here at 9:30. I saw the iFit bus, and I got on. We see Marlo and Adrian at the iFit shoot. Of course, Marlo's being annoying. She's making noise as they're trying to shoot the commercial. And it's like, Marlo, you're just there for moral support. Be quiet and let them do their job. Like, Ross was talking in one of the scenes, and she's sitting up there squealing and screaming, and it's like, girl, now he has to repeat his lines again. So now we flip to everybody else back at the resort, and we see Kenya, Monyetta, Sheree, and Sheree's friend Michelle in the lobby, and now Kenya's asking all of them where Sanya is. So Sheree's like, they're all at their iFit shoot, and now Kenya says that she's upset because she's like, well, Sanya invited us, but then didn't call us. Now, Kenya and Sheree, here's where I have to disagree with the both of you guys, because Sanya gave you guys a clear invitation. She lets you know we are meeting at 9:30 and we are taking off at 9:30 on the dot. Okay? She was clear that she wants you guys to be there. You guys are more than welcome to join her. She said it's an open invitation. If you want to go, that's great. If you don't want to go, that's fine too. So I'm confused as to why Sanya needed to call you after she already told you the plans. And Kenya talking about, I was ready and I called her and she didn't answer. Okay, I can understand you being upset about that. But for me, I would have just met them in the lobby and looked for an iFit bus. Like, I would have been down at 9:20 and made sure there was a bus outside and gotten on the bus. And Sheree, you really tried it, because when production showed that you were at the beach at 9:30 with Michelle laying out, you have no right to be mad. We now see Kandi going to Drew's room, and she wants to run lines with Drew because she has an audition coming up. Now, when I tell you guys, I couldn't stop laughing because Kandi had the script with her, and so she gave a script to Drew, and so she's expecting to read lines, and Drew's like, oh, well, can I give you some tips and techniques? And Drew goes on and on and on about what she does to get into character. Kandi was so bored. And then at the end, Drew says, oh, girl, you got this. Just think about Marlo when you're reading this script and you'll get the role. I was like, Drew was not trying to help at all. She was pretty much saying, girl, if you want my help, if you want to run lines, then you're going to have to pay me. So since Drew has brought up Marlo, she now starts talking about Sanya and Marlo's friendship. She says that she just thinks that Sanya's being influenced by Marlo and how she doesn't believe that it's genuine. Then she says that Marlo has actually talked about Sanya before, and she called Sanya a suck-up. Now, while I can't stand Marlo, a broken clock is right, what do they say, like twice a day? Because Sanya definitely is a suck-up at times. The way she kind of flip-flops and bounces around, trying to be in with the cool girls, like, it can be a bit much. And I think that her trying to get close to Marlo is a lose-lose, because Marlo will smile in your face, but then turn around and talk about you. She talks about everybody that she's friends with. She dogs out everybody that she's friends with. So I don't know why anybody would even trust Marlo to be a friend. So now we jump to the next scene, and we see Kenya, Sheree, Monyetta's husband Heath, and Sheree's friend Michelle on the Catamaran. Child, I couldn't stop laughing because Kenya was in such a silly mood. She pops up on the mic and she starts imitating Sanya. And I would attempt to imitate Kenya imitating Sanya, but I said, you know what? I know my limitations, so I'm not even going to try it. I'll just stick to my Lisa Barlow from SLC imitations and call it a day. So we see them all dancing on the Catamaran. They're having a great time. And then Kenya says in her confessional that while she is mad at Sanya, she's not mad at Sanya. And then Sheree says, this is why we came to Jamaica in the first place, to have a good time. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't know why they'd be mad at Sanya in the first place, because they're having a great time. Like, I don't know if they would have had a good time at Sanya's iFit shoot. Like, yeah, they would have made connections, but then I think they'd be complaining about how bored they were, to be honest. So I think they did the right thing by going on the Catamaran instead. So now we see them eating some lunch, and that food looked delicious. You guys know my mouth was watering, all right? And now Monyetta starts asking Sheree about how She by Sheree is coming along. So you know how Sheree gets every time she starts to lie or talk about She by Sheree, she starts stuttering. So she's like, yeah, you know, it's coming out great. Like, I'm not getting any sleep. I'm just sitting up here grinding. Like, She by Sheree is coming. Like, it is going down. I said, Sheree, we have heard the same thing from you for 14 years, and we've still gotten nothing. And they say that your website still isn't even up. So Sheree goes on to say that she's putting on a presentation in 3 weeks, and they'll finally see the line. So Sheree says in her confessional that she's actually very nervous about her show and how she's calling it a fashion presentation instead of a fashion show, just in case all the pieces don't come and to lower expectations. I said, Sheree, it's a clear sign that being in fashion is just not for you. The fact that you're still this nervous, talking about I have to lower expectations just in case the pieces don't come. We're in season 14 and you're still giving us season 1 with this whole She by Sheree mess. I just don't get it. Everything should be in order. All your ducks should be in a row. The pieces should be there. It's clear that Sheree is not business savvy because there is no excuse for why somebody on the biggest platform of all cannot get a line together. You have content creators, influencers, other reality TV stars on lesser TV shows putting out lines and merchandise, and Sheree can't even get one t-shirt off the ground. Like I've said in the past few recaps, Sheree, if She by Sheree isn't up and running by the time this reunion airs, give it up. So now Kenya jokes around and says that she could be one of the models in Sheree's fashion show. And so Sheree's like, okay, girl, let me see you walk. So Kenya's being silly. She starts getting on the pole and dancing. And now Monyetta starts dancing. She starts hitting the splits. And Sheree's like, what are y'all doing? Like, y'all are busting it open. This is not a rap video. Like, I need some actual models. So now we jump to the next scene. Everybody's getting ready for dinner. And we see Sheree, Marlo, and Sanya walking to the lobby. So as they're walking, Sheree voices her disappointment about not being at the iFit shoot. She says that she's hurt that she wasn't there, and she feels like she was uninvited. So Sanya's upset hearing this. She's like, what are you talking about? I would never uninvite you guys. I want you guys to be there. Like, I don't know what happened. And by the way, I lost my phone. So if you were calling me or messaging me, like, I didn't get your messages. So now Sheree says, well, why wasn't I there then? Because I was ready. I was on time. And like I said earlier, thank God production showed us the footage of Sheree and her friend Michelle being on the beach at 9:30. I said, Sheree, you're just sitting up here lying. You weren't ready. And again, I wouldn't even be feeling upset when I had a great time on the Catamaran with Kenya, Monyetta, and Michelle. So it's like, bringing this up to Sanya is BS to me. And again, the footage shows clearly that you were not ready at 9:30. You were at the beach. So Sanya's irritated. She's like, well, clearly it was a miscommunication. I didn't mean anything by it. And remember that this is a work trip for me. So now Marlo jumps in and actually sticks up for Sanya. She's like, no, Sanya actually was missing you guys. She kept asking about you guys on the iFit shoot. Like, she really did want you and Kenya to be there. So now Sheree keeps going on and on about how annoyed she was by not being there. So now Marlo interjects again and she's like, look, Sheree, give Sanya a pass today and just curse her out tomorrow. So Sanya's like, girl, don't curse me out at all. So now Sheree says, look, Sanya, I'm going to give you a pass, but Kenya's probably not going to give you a pass. And Sanya's like, girl, whatever. I didn't do anything wrong. It's a work trip. Like, it is what it is. So we see everybody meet up in the lobby, and I just felt so bad seeing Drew in the wheelchair with the big cast. I just said, the fact that this happened because she was skipping and running around for like 5 seconds is just crazy. So now we flip to everybody arriving to dinner. And they were having dinner at this place called Rose Hall, which Sanya said was famous for something. I forgot what it was famous for, but let me know down in the comments. But anyhow, the table was set up beautifully. 10 out of 10. So everybody's seated. You have the waitress come around with some rum punch for everybody. And when I tell you that I love some rum punch, there is nothing like rum punch on the islands. Everything. The thing about rum punch is that you don't taste the alcohol, but when it hits you all at once, and then, yeah. So now Kandi starts asking Ralph about his book and when they're going to hear anything about the book. And so Ralph gets up and reads an excerpt. And while he's reading to everybody, he says in his confessional that being a step-parent is a journey. Nobody teaches you how to be one. So Ralph finishes reading and everybody's clapping. They're happy to hear it. Kandi says that she can't wait to read the book when it drops. And then Drew says that she's happy to finally hear something from the book and how, she's teary-eyed and emotional. And for right now, she's going to table the whole adoption conversation. I have to say that should not have been Drew's first time hearing anything from the book. She's his wife. She should be hearing all this stuff first before anybody else does. You guys already know what I think about Drew and Ralph and their whole dynamic. I think it's a hot mess. So it's really no use with me repeating myself and wasting my breath. Now, mind you, while this is going on, we see Sheree, Michelle, and Kenya having a side conversation about the whole mess with Sanya and the whole I Fit invitation. And so Sheree's telling Kenya what was said. And so Kenya's like, wait, that's not true. Like, that's a lie. So now Kenya interrupts and she addresses Sanya. So Kenya says, Sheree just told me that you told her that we didn't show up, and that's a lie. I called you twice. So Sanya says, why would I call you? I thought that you guys were going on the Catamaran. What's the big deal? So Kenya says, you didn't check on us all day. And Sanya's like, girl, I was working. Remember, this is a work trip for me and Ross. Like, I couldn't call you back. So Sanya says in her confessional that she feels like Kenya just wants to pick a fight with her. And if Kenya really wanted to be there, then she would have just taken a cab like she did yesterday. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I kind of feel the same way. If Kenya and Sheree both felt so strongly about being there, then they could have split a cab and went. I don't think that Sanya did anything wrong. She gave clear instructions about how they were leaving at 9:30 on the dot. While I can't stand Marlo, Marlo was able to get on the bus on time and she got to go. I just don't understand why they're that upset with Sanya. Maybe I'm missing something, but I just don't think that Sanya did anything wrong. This is a work trip for her. She can't afford to be late to the iFit shoot. She just can't. If Kenya had an endorsement deal and somebody were late, we know how Kenya is. Kenya would leave them in a heartbeat. We all know it. So Kenya and Sanya go back and forth. Kenya's like, is this how you treat your guests? And Sanya's like, what are you talking about? I was working. So of course Sheree interjects and she's like, look, I felt away like I told you earlier. I felt like you uninvited me. Sanya's irritated, and now you have Marlo jumping in to defend Sanya, and she's like, oh my gosh, one at a time. I was thinking, Marlo, in times like this, just keep your mouth quiet because you already know that you and Kenya don't get along. You have a tendency to make things worse, so keep quiet, please. So Kenya gets mad. She's like, don't tell us when to talk. Like, we'll talk when we want to talk. And now we see Ross getting annoyed, and he's like, hold on. Don't F with my wife. And that's where the episode ends. Now, I'm not looking forward to next week's episode. I already know it's going to be a hot mess. Like, Ross jumping in is about to make things 10 times worse. But y'all, that was the episode. Like I said earlier, this episode felt like it was just all over the place. And I'm to the point now where I'm just ready for the reunion. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. And you guys already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.